Hey everyone, Robot here. And this video will go over all you need to know to play the Lery's Memorial Institute effectively and efficiently as Survivor. We'll cover how to find your way around the map, how to find gens easily, how to find the exit gates, and the strongest styles to loop. Let's get started. First, we'll cover how to learn your way around the map. Lery's can be a confusing indoor map, but there are landmarks that can help you find your bearings. Let's take a look at the map layout. I don't want to overwhelm you, so I'll show you two different ways you can divide the map to try to make it easier to navigate, so you can choose whichever makes more sense to you. First, let's just divide the map in top, middle, and bottom. The top part of the map can be recognized by the TV room. This is the room with the loud TVs hanging from the ceiling. The room has a few different entrances, and each of them either have a booth or a sign above them. If you see one of these, you'll have an easier time figuring out where you are on the map. The middle part of the map includes the library, which is the room with the bookshelves and desk. The other landmarks that are good location references are the L-shaped rooms that surround the library. If you see a room shaped like this around you, you'll know the library is nearby. The middle section also includes one of two rooms with a rectangular shape. The layout for the bottom of the map includes the second room with rectangular shape. This room, along with the rectangular room in the middle of the map, have different variations in terms of what structures spawn in the rooms themselves. We'll look at these variations later when we talk about looping. The second way you can look at the map layout is with clock callouts. This is widely used in competitive DBD. For solo queue, of course, this wouldn't add much value. This would be more effective when you're playing with friends and all are familiar with the callouts. It's beneficial when you need to let friends know precisely where the gens are located or which resources have been used. I personally like clock callouts, even when I'm playing solo queue. I can make mental notes of which resources have been used and where I can take chases. So I wanted to share this layout with you in case you find it more intuitive. I'll refer to it also for the remainder of the video to tell you precisely which areas are strong around the map, but I'll also refer to the more simple layout. Now let's talk about how to find gens. To find gens, all you need to do is look at the signs outside each of the rooms. If a sign's light is blinking, that means there's an unrepaired gen inside. If a sign's light is off, that means there aren't any gens inside that room. And if a sign is lit, that means there's a fully repaired gen inside that room. There are also signs above the entrances to the TV room. These are bigger than the other ones in the smaller rooms. One thing to know is that there'll always be a gen in the TV room. That's a constant. And if the gen has been repaired, the signs above the entrances to the TV room will light up. Same as with the other rooms, if the signs are blinking, that gen hasn't been repaired. Gens can also spawn in the hallways, and these locations vary, but those are easier to spot around the map, so we won't cover those in this video. Now let's talk about how to find the exit gates. The exit gates don't spawn on the same spot every time, but similar to finding gens inside rooms, there are signs that you can look out for to spot where the exit gates are. These signs are on either side of the hallway that leads to the exit doors. Now let's talk about the strongest loops in the map. Alright, so let's start here. So this room here is very strong in my opinion. So there's a few variations of this. So sometimes instead of that window you get a door, so it's blocked. It's not very often though, and then sometimes that is also a door. So but when you have this setup here, then the first thing to do is to try to start the chase going this direction, so you can fast build into that window. And you come here, and then once you come here, you'll see that there's nothing in this room. I mean, typically the rooms around TV room are not very good. But once you come and do this, then if the killer follows you, they have to go around here, right? Unless they have bamboozle maybe and they want to block that. But the good thing is that once you stand here, then you have the check spot of that on that side, and if say the killer decides to come this way here, then you have that check spot right there. That you can see the crack through the window, through the door right there. So say that the killer decides to come around here, then you can vault this way, right? And then you come up here. So up here, you can stand here and keep this check spot and see if the killer commits to come this way. We'll go over the bottom again, or continue the bottom chase or the bottom example in a minute. But say that the killer decides to come this way, right? Comes upstairs. Won't be able to see you here, but maybe he will. I mean, so the good thing about you staying hidden here is that he won't have a chance to moonwalk. So because say for example that you do this, he might know that there's a vault here, and he might say that he tries to bait you into vaulting it too soon. He might come here and then immediately come back, and since you'll have a cooldown when you drop, unless you have balanced landing, but since you'll have a cooldown when you drop, then he might be able to come and hit you right here. So it's important that you stay hidden. Now the other thing too is, like, for whatever reason you come from this way, if you hug this, sometimes like this little ledge, I think is that little metal piece, I don't know what that is, but you get stuck. So just be careful with that. See, I got stuck there again. So just, you have to take it a little wide. Okay, so the importance of keeping this check spot but hidden. Okay, so now that, say that the killer decides to commit this way, then once you see him coming, then you medium vault this, and then you keep an eye on what he does. So he could vault that right there, that window, or they could come this way as well. So that drop is right there. So I mean, some killers don't know about it, so you never know. So if the killer decides to chase you through there, then of course they're very slow when they vault, right? And the stagger that you get from dropping is okay. Like, you'll have enough time to come this way and then see what the killer does when you keep this check spot here. So this is another check spot to keep. And you can keep doing that, right? Like, if the killer comes here, you take this right here, see if they commit. If not, you can keep running this way, right? And then keep your other check spot right here. You can see on the right hand side through the door, and then on this side you can see, I'm sorry, through that right there. Okay, so you can, you know, do this as much as you can, right? And then keep it running this way. Now, there's a possibility that the killer decides to double back. So say that did you see the killer come in this way, right? They commit, you keep running, and then you come to this place right here. Keep your check spot again, because they might be coming that way. You can come here. Now, if they do that, depending on how much distance you have, you can keep running this way. Double check, right? Just to make sure that the killer is not coming. Right here, right? Your check spot that we talked about. And then you can medium vault this again, and then do it all over again. You know, from here, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now, the variation is when the killer decides to drop here, which will be the smart thing to do. Now, you might still be fine, like, depending on how much distance you have. Like, if you drop and the killer drops there, you might be able to just come this way anyway, and then continue running. Now, they probably gain a little bit of distance on you, but, you know, try to play the area, okay? But say that for whatever reason, you know, you don't have a lot of distance. Then you drop here, right? You have this stagger, then the killer is already dropping. Now, what you can do then is come this way right here. So if you have this window open, then you can come this way. Don't vault that window, because look at this. So if you have this check spot here, then you have, that's a 50-50, right? Because the killer might know, okay, the killer might know that there's a window there, that you want to vault it once you see him coming from this direction, right? So he might do this, trick you into vaulting that window, and then he might just come this way and then smack you here. So a safer bet would be, okay, you see him dropping there, just come right here, gaining distance, okay? And then you have this check spot here. You can see if he comes from that way or he comes from that way, okay? So that is this area right here. Now let's talk about this filler pallet right here. So just for reference, that's the vault that we were just talking about over there upstairs. So I'm just across it right here. So for this this pallet by itself, as you can see, is super unsafe, because there's not a lot of structure in between the pallet and yourself if the killer decides to chase you around here. You know, especially if they have bloodlust, they're gonna get you really fast. Now, if you have to play this, just be as patient as you can, and you know, don't drop it right away if you see, you know, like if the killer is running behind you, and then you know, you have to play it smart. You know, if you can get the stun, great. If not, well, it's very unsafe. So, but the other way to use this filler is if you are coming, say, from, I don't know, this direction right here. Let's pretend that we're running from here, from the killer, and then the killer is, you know, coming from there. So you come here, and then you have this filler, but you won't play this. Like if you have enough distance, you can keep running here, and then go all the way around, okay? And then see that we're back here to the filler. So that buys you a little bit of time to see if the killer commits your direction. You can keep running. Sometimes you can see through that little door hole right there, or door window. But in this case, you know, we have the stairs, right? So depending on the tile of where the filler spawns, then you know, you're not able to see it. But you know, keep your check spot here, see if he commits. You depending on the distance, of course, you might be fine. But you keep going here, and then at some point, you know, you'll have to drop this, which will give you a little bit of this, and especially coming from this direction. This will be the direction that you'll want to do it. Why? Because the killer, because of this structure, the killer has to go around right here. So you drop the pallet right this way, you keep running. The killer then has to go backtrack a little bit, because instead of being able to just keep going, you know, he's gonna have to come here. Now he breaks it, that's a win right there. All right, so now let's talk about this tile right here, where when you have a window and you have this pallet. Believe it or not, this pallet becomes a gap pallet once you throw it. Why? Well, because you have this window here. So let's take a scenario here. Let's talk about a scenario. So the way to run this is always run through it like this, okay? Don't run around it. Like if the killer is chasing you, I mean, it would be hard to see, of course. But if you identify that there's a pallet here, then you run it this way. Or if you come from this way, of course, right here. Because you don't want to come here and then have the killer block that pallet and that window. Because they might chase you here. They realize, oh, they're like trapped. You know, there's nothing here. So what they most likely will do is they see you right there. They come here, and then they try to either bloodlust, depending on how long they've been chasing you, or they might just play around it and then, you know, catch you off guard and then, you know, get a hit on you. Or, you know, they might just be able to go around here, get a hit. So yeah. Depending on how you take this the first time while you're in a chase, that's going to define how strong this tile is. So now let me give you the other example. So now say that you bring the killer this way, right? They're chasing you, you drop this. Now, killer has to break this. They have to break it. Why? Because if they don't break it, you come around here, right? And say that the killer decides to go that direction. Say that the killer says, I'm not gonna break it. So there's a couple of things that you can do, right? So if you have enough distance, you may be able to come around here. You keep your check spot here. Just be careful. Don't hug this too tight, because if the killer is smart, they might be able to, you know, come in here and hit you there. So just be careful. Any windows that are like that when that you cross, be careful. And you don't want to hug this anyway, because you have this right here. So you want to hug. You want to line up the way you run to this side right here. Okay, so now you're here, right? And then check spots, right? Check spot, check spot. So right here, you check to see if the killer is coming. And then once they do, always when you keep your check spots, just hide your body so that they don't see that you're there. Okay, so say that they commit, you vault this. Even if they back, you know, if they double back, you know, you have this window that you can see through also. There's not a lot of space here. So even if they moonwalk, you know, you see the red stain coming from this direction. And then say that they come from that direction and they like bloodlust 10,000, and then they commit to try to get you. You know, you won't be able to make another run here. Then you just take the window. At some point it might block, but then you still have this strong pallet. So that is why it's important to identify what type of tile you have. And because there are other tiles in this type of I'm sorry, there are other structures in the this type of tile where the pallet is in the middle and it's just very unsafe. But when it's like this becomes a gap pallet if you run it the right way. All right, so now let's talk about library, which is the middle of the map. So to give you an idea of where we are, so that is TV room, library is right here. So this is the north I call it north, right? But this is the top entrance. Okay. As we mentioned, these are the L-shaped rooms that are not good. They usually don't have anything. This one in particular is pretty bad. Because, I mean, you have that window right there, but it's not all that great. Okay. So, these are the entrances to library. This right here, if you want to equate it to what an outdoor map would be like, is like you have this long wall essentially that has a window. So this is the L side of the long wall, and then you have this right here. So the only way to take this as a fast vault is from this direction right here. From over here, it's kind of difficult to do. I don't know if you actually can. Maybe if you hit the corner, but see, even there's like those indentations there. So I don't think you can. Yeah. Anyways, but so what's here is this GAD palette. Okay. So now that's two GAD palettes that we have in this map. So the one that we talked about it was 1, I think, and then this one right here. So I don't think, in my opinion, that library is all that strong by itself. Like I see it more as a pass through, right? I mean, if you still have that GAD palette up, of course it's great, right? And then depending on which direction you come through here, then you may be able to take this window and then make up a little bit of time. Yeah, so depending on the spawn, like for example here, like you have this tile right here. So this window is sometimes here. So in this case, that's blocked. And if that's blocked, then the window is here, or the vault is here. And if this is open, so there's no vault here, but you just walk right through it, then the window is right here. So, I mean, depending on how the killer plays it, it's all depending on the killer, right? You may be able to get this. So if the killer just follows you blindly there, maybe they have bamboozle, then you can take this and it's super safe. But if you have to play a 50-50 right here, then, you know, it's it can be tricky, right? So just keep your check spots and waste as much time as you can. Now, what you can do also to waste a little bit of time is run around these L-shaped rooms. Okay. So these right here are not very strong. So this one is open right here. So you could maybe run around, right? But I mean, there's nothing there that you can do. So use it as, in my opinion, right? Use it as a filler. And then the idea is to get you to the next very strong area, which is the bottom part. And that's what we'll cover next. All right, so now we've made it to the bottom part of the map, which in my opinion is the strongest. So just for reference, that's library right there. So we are on the bottom part. So that is the bottom long rectangle room, or 6 if you're using claw callouts. So in this, these have very these tiles vary. They have a few variations. Sometimes you have a bathroom, yeah, where you have some, you know, like a long hallway with a gap palette in the middle. So that is one gap palette. Another gap palette that could spawn in this map. In this case, you have this, which is not as strong in my opinion, because there's really nothing around this. So you only have lockers. And you have a palette here that doesn't allow you to have visibility on whether the killer is, you know, going one direction or the other. Now, not for all killers. Some killers you can see, you know, above the walls, but not not for every killer. Like Hag or any shorter killers, you won't be able to see them well. So, I mean, for here, you know, waste as much time as you can, right? But the key is to see if you can connect this to a stronger tile like 8. So, sometimes, you know, this window is open right here, so that's good. That tile is nothing usually. Now, sometimes decent tiles spawn there. I've had the pallet and window I showed you earlier spawn here once, I think, as far as I can remember. But other than that, it's not usually a great tile. So what you'll want to do is come and take the killer or your chase this way as well. Now, I'm sorry, I forgot to say something over here. So here, so you saw that you have this tile here, but then you have a GAD pallet here. So, and believe it or not, sometimes this GAD pallet also spawns when you have a GAD pallet in the next room over. In the example that I showed you earlier. So this right here is a GAD pallet, of course, and you can use it, you know, at your discretion, however you want to use it. But you know, it's great visibility on both sides, and once you drop it, the killer has to break. All right. So let's go back here. So let's say that you exhaust your resources here. Like I said, this is not the greatest tile to, or the greatest structure to spawn here. But what you want to do is you want to come this way and to 8. So 8, or, you know, I guess it's probably like bottom left if you're using the simplified layout, has this tile. So in this case, I call this counter tile, sorry. And this one, this structure is not super strong, but the nice thing is that the wall here is shorter, and you'll be able to see if the killer double backs if you're trying to loop around here. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that once this pallet is dropped, this tile becomes much weaker, right? Like most tiles in general, honestly. Because if you haven't dropped this, say that you're healthy and you don't drop this pallet, then the killer sometimes will respect it and will come around. So that'll give you a little bit of more distance, right? To try to run it again. Maybe a couple of times, okay? So just be careful to not get stuck on that wheelchair right there, and then keep your check spots and keep running. Now, once you drop it, of course, then that becomes weaker, and then you'll have to find something else to do. So in this case, this is the tile that spawned. So in my opinion, that tile and this tile right here are probably the weakest when it comes to what could spawn here. So now let's talk about some of the stronger ones that could spawn at the bottom. All right, so in this variation of the map, we're at the bottom, and of course that is the GAD pallet at the bottom, and we have this tile here, which is these beds that have a long side over here and a short side over here. So this tile, in my opinion, is better than what the other one was, where you couldn't see right above the walls. I mean, they could, but only for certain killers. So in this case, you have a little more visibility. The sheets still let you see through to see what the killer is doing, and of course the killer is tall, then you can see over the beds. But yeah, so this is the other variation. You have the GAT pallet on this side. If you exhaust your resources here, you need to go there. The other thing to note is check how the windows are set up here. So in this case, you have a doorway here and a window here. Sometimes there's a window here and a doorway here. So you have to, just keep in mind, or, keep an eye out for what you have. All right, so this is another variation of the rectangular shape rooms. In this case, I'm standing on 8. If you are following the clock callouts, or bottom left. I'm sorry, mid left. So as you can see here, this is a GAT pallet right here, because the killer won't be able to hit you unless, well, if you drop it, of course, then there's a lot of distance from this side, and this is a short side right here once you drop it. But if you get If you get hit here, the killer has to be like, you know, bloodless tier 3 or something. If you don't have enough time to react. So most likely the killer will break this. So I consider this, if not a gap pallet, a very, 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 very strong pallet. So in this case, we at 8 we have the showers again. But I just want to point out that you get this right here. So these double windows can be very strong. So I know this is kind of, you know, we're moving kind of towards top mid now, but or yeah, top mid left, I guess, or 10 if you're using callouts. But these two windows right across from each other can be very strong. Look at this. This is, I mean, then you start to identify, right, like what you have going on here. So this we already talked about. This is the GAT pallet that spawns with that window. Excuse me, with that window right there. And then you also have this other pallet right here. So the strength in Lery's is really just, I guess in any other map, but more here so than a lot of other maps, like outdoor maps, is how close together can be some tiles and identifying like how strong they can be. Okay, so going back to these two windows, right? So you have this window, and then, you know, depending on how the killer plays it, you can go around, and then you can manage. Don't do what I just did there. Like take this right here and then fastball this. I mean, I know it's easy to say now, depending on, oh, hi, Mr. Trapper, on how things play out in the game, right? But if you identify it, if you're quick enough to identify what you have, you know, if the killer decides to chase you this way, you know, try to take advantage of these windows as much as you can. And that's just to close things out on this section. GAT pallet in this case spawned in the mid left, so it's right here, or if you want to call it using the clock callouts, this is 8. So you can see that that variation is also showed up here. You have that here, and just to show you what we have at the bottom is now we just have an open space. Let me get there real quick. So going back to 6, that's where we have the counter. So typically GAT pallet is usually here, but now this hallway is just wider in this section right here, and GAT pallet spawn over there. If you have other ways you loop Lery's, please share them in the comment section below. I hope this was useful, and if you'd like to be notified when I upload my next video, you can subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to watch other tips and gameplay, you can click on the thumbnails on the left hand side of your screen. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.